Hey everyone, this is Roberta Eastman from Home Buyers Inventory. Thanks so much for joining us at the Home Buyers Inventory Q&A. The topic we're going to discuss tonight and answer your questions about is something that we get a lot, and it's really important for everybody to be on the same page with this. And the question is, what about, am I limited to my tenant's guests? Do I have to be limited to how many people I can have staying or visiting in the house? So let's go ahead and talk about limiting the tenant's guests. So this is Home Buyers Q&A number 27. In renting a home, the landlord sets rules and responsibilities before you'll be approved to stay in the house. It is the same in a rent-to-own program. In our program, we're not as stringent as some landlords, and that's part of the reason why you would want to do a rent-to-own with us versus just renting. Because oftentimes you can't make the house your own, you can't have your pets, you can't do any of that when you're just renting. In our rent-to-own program, we do have and allow you to have your pets. We do allow you to make the home your own and create your home for you. So there are big differences, but in regards to, who can be in the home and who can stay, that we do have some rules on, and those, as you'll find out in the presentation here further along, and I'll tell you about those in just a second, that is protection for you. And some things that you probably may not be thinking about, or a reason you wouldn't want people who aren't on the lease to be staying in the home. And like I said, we'll cover that in just a minute. So limiting tenant guests is one of those rules. Some landlords limit guest visits, for example, no more than 10 days in any 6-month period, with written approval required for longer stays, to avoid having a guest turn into an unauthorized new tenant. A few overly concerned landlords go overboard by keeping tabs on legitimate guests who stay overnight or just for a few days. And in their efforts to prevent guests from becoming full-time residents without signing a lease or rental agreement, and that's why they do it. So check out your lease or rental agreement because it may limit your number of overnight guests. Some leases, rental agreements, or rules and regulations will require you to register any overnight guests. This is often very typical if you are in a mobile home park. They have pretty strict rules on how long the guest can stay, where people can park. HOAs, very similar. They may not have the limit on how long the person can stay, but they definitely have the limit on where people can park. And as you probably suspect, it's overkill to require you to inform your landlord of a guest who will stay only a day or two. It is ideal that a potential tenant should first read the contract that specifically points out guest rules. Landlords do have the broad authority to add rules limiting guest stays to the lease agreement, so as long as the lease does not deny a tenant their legal rights. The landlord, for example, may add rules to the lease agreement of how long the visitors can stay in the unit and limit the number of guests a tenant can have. Now here at Home Buyers Inventory in our rent-to-own program, we have terms and conditions. Those require anyone who will be living in the home over the age of 18 to be on the lease. In addition, the terms under possession and occupancy. Item number 3 states, the premises shall be used only as a family residence by lessee and by members of lessee's immediate family. And this only includes spouse and children. In the lease, you also agree not to sublet. Well, when you have someone staying in the home and they are not on the lease, what you're doing is subletting. The need for these types of terms or protections for both you and us. Let's say you get into an argument with a person not on the lease, but they've been staying with you for an amount of time. Or even worse, you find yourself in a domestic violence situation with this person, and you need the person to leave, for you and your child's well-being. However, since you let that person stay there, and even though you want them gone now, the law may not be able to do anything about it. There are challenges to getting the person removed, and they may have rights because you let them stay there. To protect yourself, do not let anyone stay in your home without talking to us. To learn more, visit our facts page at www.homebuyersinventory.com. And don't forget to get our free rent-to-own process infographic. So visit us at www.homebuyersinventory.com. And thanks for the questions. Keep them coming.